There is a podcast no one asked for. A podcast you never knew you didn't want. 3 beers in. This is the podcast.
It's just a beta. It's experience.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us on 3 Beers In. Tonight, we'll be drinking with
Daniel.
And Gaby.
from the Texas Yeast Lab.
Yep, that's us.
Yeah.
Driving up to Salado and stopped in to hang out with you guys and drink some beer.
All right.
Shit, yeah.
And tonight, we also have Ross.
Clint. Joel's here.
Joel's here. And
Cutter.
there we go. All right. And we're going to start off with... Wait, did I have one?
A bottle that I already opened. I stole yours. I think.
Oh, okay.
Bottle that I already opened.
With a wiener stopper. Wait, no.
Yes, we'll go with that.
Weihenstephaner.
This is their
Right.
original, right?
Yeah, the original. This is one of the OG lager yeasts that pretty much all lagers come from now.
Yeah.
So kind of a good spot to start.
They are.
Cool.
They do claim to be the oldest brewery. So, all right. So everybody, if you want, just crack them open.
Go for it.
Mine's already open, thanks to Cutter.
Hey, Cutter, where's yours? I didn't hear yours pop.
There it is.
There it is.
Yeah. Well, I've got
I've opened
two.
like 3 of them now.
Calm down.
So many of them.
So you're saying this is an original yeast strain, basically, for kind of like where lagers originate from?
Well, so, for a long time, they made lagers based off of, not really knowing where beer came from. So yeast wasn't really a thing.
Yeah, they only
Yeah.
had 3 ingredients at that time.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, there are older lagers, but this one's kind of become the standard lager. So Carlsberg had a couple strains that they isolated, started handing those out, giving them to everybody. Some of them went to the Czech Republic, or what's now the Czech Republic, Bohemia, and then others ended up in Germany. And the German strains have kind of taken over the whole lager world.
That sounds about
Yeah.
right. Just
Yeah.
like Germans taking over the world.
Yeah. So, yeah, I haven't...
What I think is pretty cool, it's got brewed under the purity law of 1516.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of...
Most of your German beers are. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very few ingredients.
Reinheitsgebot.
There's a brewery down in San Marcos that does Reinheitsgebot for their beer, Altmaier and Lewis.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They make some really, I mean, they make a lot of lagers, and then they have, I guess, they're really famous for their Bock and their Hefeweizen.
Oh, cool.
And I think keeping it simple, especially when it comes to German style, is a really good way of doing it.
Yeah.
If you're going to do German styles, you kind of have to do it simple because that's like, otherwise it's not very Germanic.
Yeah. No, there's a lot that goes into, working with grain, and that's one thing that I think we're getting more and more exposed to is just the whole process and world that brewing has created, where all these steps that these brewers figured out over 1,000 years or whatever.
Yeah, it kind of blows your mind when you think about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you think about it, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know
Yeah.
if too many people think about it too much, but
Now, most people just Google it now.
yeah.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and just hope the autocorrect will figure out all the German numbers. Okay, yeah, I think that's what I'm searching for. That's perfect.
right.
This looks right. Google translate that.
Yeah.
Or you end up somewhere you really don't want to. Well, this is definitely German, but time to move away.
Why don't they get another cup?
To relax, I like to shave horses.
Oh, God. I didn't know what I was getting into.
Yeah.
It's been fun, guys.
This is where I draw the line. It was
Yeah.
nice. It was good.
Yeah.
It was a good 5 minutes.
One third
Sure,
beer
yeah.
in. It's good. It's a good start.
Yeah.
How did you guys
So-
get into yeast?
So, yeah, we both were finishing up school around the same time.
Yeah.
So we started doing biochemistry at Texas State down in San Marcos.
Eat 'em up,
Go
cats.
Bob. Go Bobcats.
Yes. It's definitely an interesting place, but the biochemistry department was pretty great. We got a lot of just research experience doing cell culture. She did a little different than what I did. Gabby, you just you want to talk about what you did?
What I worked in is developing nanomaterials for detection.
Yeah. Actually, I was reading that on your website.
Yeah, it's really cool stuff. It's a lot of polymer work with organic chemistry and using biological materials and biological polymers to create these devices that can treat and also diagnose cancer early on. But I think what really got us into yeast is I actually asked Dan to teach me how to brew beer. Because we were both biochemists, and it was a really interesting...
Very organic thing, yeah.
Yeah. Back in the day, we had, we'd break out cans of malt syrup.
Yeah.
Some of them would come with hops.
You do the extract?
Yeah. So that was, I don't even know. It was a while ago.
Yeah. Yeah, we just recently started homebrewing, Clint and I.
Nice.
Yeah. We actually have a just standard kit amber sitting in the pantry right there, and then a porter sitting in the fridge out in the garage.
Yeah, I had a little difficulty with that because, I don't know, I had the US 05 ale yeast. Mm-hmm. It just wouldn't do anything.
Really?
I don't know. Well, I got the kit from Amazon, so I didn't check the date on the yeast, and you don't know how they store it or anything. Yeah. So I don't know. But yeah, then I went down and at the local homebrew supply and I bought some liquid yeast, some English ale yeast, some White Labs, because I wasn't able to get anything from Texas Yeast Lab because not set up for homebrewers.
Just put them on blast right there.
Yeah, tough crowd. Yeah.
There's actually a roast. That's what we actually let you on.
That's great. I love being blindsided.
Yeah. So getting back to y'all and how y'all, let's circle back around. So y'all were homebrewing and all that. And then what, y'all started deciding y'all wanted to play with like the yeast, see if you could cultivate different strains, stuff like that? Or
Yeah, so both of our jobs kind of involved working with cells in one form or another. Mm-hmm. And so what we started doing in the meantime when we were brewing is some yeasts were harder to get than others. Sometimes they'd run out of stock, whatever.
Yeah, you have to wait until enough people, want the same yeast to get it to open the vault.
Yeah, so we thought, hey, okay, well, then let's start saving what we have.
Yeah.
And,
we have somewhat experience in this.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and try it.
And so one thing led to another, and then we were sharing it with other people homebrewing. Mm-hmm. And then we started meeting, other brewers and getting out and doing, smaller batches because basically the process for making large scale yeast takes a lot of equipment.
Yeah.
But sharing the yeast and then started becoming, okay, well, let's do some smaller taproom stuff, 1 barrel, 5 barrel. And then one day it came, it stopped being a hobby and something we shared. And then, we were starting to get orders for it and starting to get more and more things coming back. And now we're here.
Started from the bottom, now the whole team.
That's really cool.
Year and 3 months later, I guess. Yeah.
That's right.
Started at the bottom.
Yeah, and it's still changing every day. It's the scale increases, the process changes because that's so much of beer and brewing.
And that's really what you want, You don't want the scale to go down.
No.
Right?
Yeah. No. Yeah. We're already microbiologists. We don't need to go any smaller. So.
Nanobiology.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of where we ended up. It's been this kind of organic thing that just developed out of a
hobby, really. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's work for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the whole do what you love, so you don't have to go to work.
Well, do what you love, and you'll never work a day in your life.
Trying to get those yeast to propagate.
Yeah, but it's enjoyable work. It's rewarding, so I like it a lot. I mean,
cool.
Yeah, it's the curiosity that keeps us going, I think.
Yeah, and getting to do stuff like this and getting to get out and meet people, learn about an industry.
Oh, you're probably gonna regret that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's like, if this is your first foray into it, we apologize for Joel in advance.
He's an animal. We can't control him.
Yeah.
No.
Do you guys still brew, or do you?
We actually. So what's kind of funny is that we actually mash a lot.
Yeah.
So what we don't do is make.
Well, I guess you
beer.
You have to give the yeast something to feed on, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
You can't just keep buying some DME or anything, like, or some liquid extract.
Yeah, it's like completely unsustainable.
Yeah,
and really, there's so much going on with yeast and their genomes and the way they're always changing and adapting, and you gotta keep them in an environment that they're going to be
that they're
down the road.
Like. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are they easily mutatable? Is that what it is? Or?
Yeah, some strains more than others, but definitely all yeast will mutate and evolve just on the fly.
I gotcha.
That's part of the challenge.
Right, yeah. Sometimes, I don't know. I don't propagate too much yeast, obviously, but, I would think sometimes you'd get, probably more often than not, you'd get traits that you don't want. But, sometimes maybe, something good will come out of that mutation.
I guess that's a good
like in Legion.
Lead into a question. Like, is it more trial and error kind of things, or do you have strains that you just try to keep pure? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So right now, and really for the first, we have done some experimental yeast, but what we've done is, of course, at first it's trial and error.
Right.
And we tried to, cut our teeth on our own home brews, things like that, where we were developing the process and the equipment and this and that. But after a while, it really is about repeating. Once you've established that process, there's really no room for variance. The amount of impact that a yeast has on a beer is just huge. It's dramatic.
Yeah, of course.
So what we really expect is we're successful if people use our product and they're not like, oh my God, that was so much better or so much worse.
Yeah.
They're really like, that is exactly what I expected.
Right. You want that consistency in the yeast strain. So you're really trying to keep it in the same state that it existed in last year, basically.
Yeah. And we accomplished that through, cryo storage, things like that. So liquid nitrogen, various other storage techniques that if you can keep them in a certain state, you can keep them going, not indefinitely, but you can get several cultures out of something without it changing on you. And then you blow it all away, start over.
Yeah. Because what I've been reading from doing our homebrew, it's like a lot of people will save and reuse their yeasts. And this is something that Clint wanted to bring up as well, I think. But and slightly different. But I've read that up to 6, it's pretty good, but and some people go maybe to 10 cycles or whatever you'd call it. But in anything after then, it's kind of unusable. Maybe just so much mutation or just so little of the original yeast is left. It just won't propagate anymore, maybe.
Yeah. If you think about what beer really is, it's yeast in their own waste.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. And so,
They're living in their own
But you don't
filth.
want too much of that.
Yeah. So, as every generation you push it out and every time you stress them out and
exactly.
It changes the way they express their genes.
Yeah, yeast stress, that's another big thing.
Yeah.
You don't want to get really stressed out because then you get off flavors and then nobody wants that. Well, actually, Jester King might want that, but
Sure. Yeah. And there's been a few times where, we'll play with something, we'll stress something out, we'll throw it in something that it's just not happy with because you don't never know what you're going to get.
Right, yeah.
And it doesn't hurt anything to freeze it down, bring it back later, see if maybe you did something cool. That's how all of these beers that we drink, they came from common ancestors.
Yeah. What I was reading is the Abbey started in they had a hop garden in 748 maybe, I think, AD.
Wow.
And then, but there wasn't a written record of the brewery until the 1100s or something. But then there was something that somebody found that dated it back to 1040. But then there's speculation upon that part because they think that was a forgery written in the 1600s, but nobody's really sure. And the people at the brewery aren't going to say, well, and since it is state owned now, they're not going to say, oh yeah, no, this is forgery. No, they're just going to say, oh, 1040. Yeah, we're the oldest brewery. And because there is a brewery, I can't remember the name, but they have record of starting in 1050. So 10 years later. So yeah. So it's like, well, yeah, no, we're older.
First.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It says it on the label, the world's oldest brewery.
So it must be true.
That's right.
Yeah.
I believe everything I read on labels.
Yeah. There you go.
Since 1040.
Clint knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah. That's how he gets all the flavor profiles right.
Yeah, exactly.
But you can't on this one.
Yeah, these beers are, it's funny because we work with Texas breweries only, right? So really intense about Texas craft beer.
Yeah.
Supporting Texas craft
we
beer.
are, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, except tonight where we have
right, and here we are drinking a bunch of
we have one. We're gonna get to it.
Yeah, exactly. So, but there's really no better way.
I think making an exception for the world's oldest brewery.
Sure. Yeah. Well,
to see where
maybe
everything came from,
and then followed up with Modelo Negra.
Yeah.
So what flavor notes are we really getting from the yeast in this beer?
Exactly,
Can you tell? Can you pick them up? Are you familiar enough with
I'm
that
getting a little
aspect of it?
elephanty aroma.
Yeah, so a lot of these,
if you pour it,
I'm getting mothballs because it's old.
Yeah, I probably should just actually be smelling this beer instead of just pounding it out of the bottle. These flavor notes are really distinct.
We can get glasses on the next one.
We do have glasses. Yeah, we do have glasses.
Yeah, the lagers do produce a really unique flavor.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it comes from the fact that, when you make an ale, generally you keep it at 68 degrees Fahrenheit and you let it sit and do its work, and then you cool it down. It goes dormant, sinks to the bottom, beer stops.
Right.
It becomes beer, and then fermentation
cold
is done.
crashing,
Yeah. These guys keep working when it's cold.
Yeah, because they breed when it's cold. Yeah, they don't ferment at a higher temperature. Well, which you're saying right now. So
sure,
yeah, Ross.
Sorry.
So I mean, they make a lot of ester flavors, ethyl acetate, things like that we usually associate with fruits.
Right. Gotcha.
Pineapples, mangoes, things like that.
Banana. Well,
berries sometimes.
Not bananas.
Cloven bananas.
The devil's fruit.
So and that's where the variance comes in a lot of these lager yeasts. So what we'll drink later. So this is what they call a Froberg lager. There's actually two kinds of lagers that developed distinctively on their own, and this one is a more, I guess, forward flavor lager.
Yeah.
And its descendants, wherever it ended up, Munich, all sorts of other places.
Right, yeah.
The U.S. now it's taken over. That's where, these flavors that you're tasting here are what you'll pretty much get in one way or another.
Do you know if the strain goes to like Vienna style and stuff like that, or is that the other type of lager?
So that's where things are a little weird because the Vienna style kind of disappeared and
went to Mexico.
Pretty much, yeah. Which is why Negra Modelo is kind of going to be
the history of that is pretty cool. I mean, there's not like a whole lot written about it. Or if you try to look it up, why everybody came to Mexico at that time, you kind of just have to piece it together yourself.
It's kind of like
it's not specifically like this is why all these Austrian breweries came to Mexico during the 1840s.
It's kind of like who put fruit in the beer first, Mexicans or people from Oregon.
It's
you don't really know, and if it's from Portland, then you're never going to stick fruit in your beer again, right?
No, exactly. No.
Yeah.
It's a reference to a previous episode.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I really need to go back to my deep catalog and figure out.
Yeah, they say that a bar in Portland was the first to put an orange in a wit beer. So, yeah.
All right.
Or not in the but garnish it with an orange. A slice of orange.
And are you going to argue with somebody from Portland?
I absolutely would. And
yes, you would.
I took a stance.
You got to stand up for something in life.
Yeah,
it's great. Yeah, so it's cool. I'm glad we got to this one because this is like where it starts flavor wise.
Yeah.
It started at Carlsberg, really with Louis Pasteur and the isolation of lager yeast as a thing.
Yeah, and that I was reading, a lot of people can say he wanted pasteurized milk and everything, but no, he wanted beer. He wanted the beer to last longer.
Right. Yeah. I mean, who wouldn't?
Yeah, and that's stuff they don't teach you that in school. They say, oh, no, he's working with milk.
Yeah.
No, he was
something about rabies. I don't know. Vaccines, milk.
Yeah. He wanted to pasteurize the beer.
Yeah.
That makes more sense because nobody ever thinks of like milk it's like I need my milk to last long. It's like, oh no, beer. That makes a lot more sense. Alcohol related.
Beer has been responsible for a lot of good things.
Oh yeah,
and a lot of not so good things after the fact that looked good in the first place. But
yeah. Thanks, Louis Pasteur, world class enabler.
Yeah. All right.
It's a good beer.
Yeah, what does everybody think about it?
I like it. I think if I had to describe what beer tastes like, that's what I would think it would taste.
You say that so much.
Yeah. with Hellas's and Kolsch's and
Celis.
Yeah. So I say those are more like what I would recommend.
He said that for Celis?
He said it for Celis, yeah.
Celis?
That's where it started.
That one doesn't check out. But
Celis is my least favorite.
Those like lighter, crisper kind of beers, Hellas's and
Kolsch especially is what, yeah.
Yeah.
And definitely tell this is German. It has that distinctive, almost like a Shiner taste to it.
Yeah, I can see that.
Vaguely Shiners, that water taste.
Yeah.
Shiner does have a lager now, though. I saw that.
Like the light lager?
The lime one.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, is the lime one a lager?
Yeah.
Goose.
Yeah,
salt
that's...
in it.
Salty, salty
that's what we talked about last
lime
week.
and salt, yeah. Basically the sequench, Dogfish Head sequench in Texas.
I think most of the time those are lager based. They just add salt and stuff to them.
You know, these lagers take a little while. It depends on how you do it, but having a base and then working out from that is how a lot of breweries operate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, we actually talked to Grant
Revolver
from
Grant Wood from Revolver.
Yeah, from Revolver Brewing up in Dallas.
Yeah.
And he meant, that's something that has come up in a few different of our episodes where we're talking to brewers is, like with IPAs and ales in general, you can turn them really fast, right? Yeah. And so what a lot of these microbreweries end up, one of their biggest challenges is when they want to expand out from like an IPA-based business model or just an ale-based business model and try to do some lagers and stuff like that, the time it takes for that lager to go through fermentation and get developed and all that is significantly longer in process. So it screws up their business model basically, where before they could like turn real quick in a matter of weeks, now it takes a couple months,
Burn and burn.
Yeah, Independence also, they just recently started doing lagers because one, they didn't have the tank space because that monopolizes that tank for months. Mm-hmm. Whereas you have all these other ales that you're producing and you're selling them, but you got this lager and like that's a hard, if you're going to do just accounting, just the bottom line, it's like, well, does it really make sense to have this sitting here for months where we have these ales that obviously we're just making more money on? So
yeah, there's places, particularly Hefeweizens. Yeah, you can turn those over fast.
Right.
Yeah.
You can have them kegged up in probably less than 2 weeks usually. That's
really?
Not even an exaggeration. Yeah, there's plenty of places I know of right now that are turning over Hefes in less than 2 weeks. And that's, they're delicious.
Yeah.
So I'm not complaining. But lagers take time and these tanks that brewers use are very expensive and very resource intensive. It takes a lot to keep them running and keep them at a perfect stable temperature.
Yeah, plus you have to keep it colder for a lager.
Keeping the yeast happy and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yep. So it's really, people that take the time to make a lager are definitely taking a bigger risk. Yeah. Places that specialize in it that have done it for, well, I guess almost 1,000 years. Apparently. Yeah. That's really something. That's dedication to a craft that for easily 700 years you didn't understand what you were doing, but you did it and it made good beer. Yeah. So
back when everything was barrel aged.
Makes me wonder about how consistent those beers were.
Yeah, I'm thinking of Flanders.
Stupid Texas Flanders!
Where it's like you're just mixing batches, and maybe that's what they did. I don't know. Where you're just mixing the old batch with the new. What was it? The stale with the. Well, I guess they did that in England with porters and stouts and whatnot, and then they created. No, I guess it was bitters because they had the ESBs and then they had the bitters and then the special bitters, and those were just mixtures of old and new beers. Yeah,
gooses are like that a lot too. Like the goose style ales are, beer that's 7 years old mixed with younger beer that
to get a stable kind of flavor, I guess. Yeah.
The way these lagers are made, I would assume that there probably was some variance because really at the beginning of it all, it was big clay pots and hot water. Right. And, you would just kind of put it in a cave for a while. Yeah. And be like, oh, yeah, hey, that's pretty good.
Drink about 3 or 4 of them. It's like, yep, got a good buzz. This is good.
Yeah. We did it again, guys.
Everybody, pats on the back.
Yeah. See you again tomorrow.
Hopefully the wild yeast got in it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you wouldn't ferment.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Because back then, every yeast was wild, I guess. Or they just used the same spoon, which had the yeast. Yeah. Had the yeast in it.
the clay has cracks in it, and it would just hang out.
The yeast
two beers, one spoon.
Yeah. Exactly.
On to the next one.
Yeah, sure.
What want next?
Let's do the Modelo.
Modelo.
Yeah, I think that's going to be
get slowly
similar.
closer to home.
Yeah, and then go very far away again.
Can we make the sound of the wrapper?
This one has the nice.
Yeah.
You know, it's nice beer because it's got a gold wrapper on it.
That's right. That's some solid marketing right there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
This isn't the champagne of beers.
This is
No, it is not.
Yeah.
We're gonna put.
You ain't drinking the High Life.
So we've got the Negra Modelo, or now known as the Modelo Negra.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, they rebranded it though. On the bottle, it says "New look, same taste."
Well, there you go.
I'll be the judge of that. I've had one of these fairly recently.
Well, this beer's gonna be like Goldschlager. It's just gonna be little gold pieces in the bottom of my beer.
We should put gold foil on our yeast bitches.
Something.
Yeah.
Just be your signature.
Yeah. Premium yeast.
Totally original.
There we go. I love the color of this as lagers go.
Oh, it is really nice. Really dark.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I've always loved the smell.
Yeah, it is really nice.
Yeah, it's got really nice like dark malts in it, and then corn and stuff. But you know, it's
got a nice sweet smell to it.
It is really nice, being a
mass market beer.
Big beer. Yeah.
Yeah, and here we are again. Craft beer people drinking.
Yeah, but
but we're drinking history.
But this is about yeast tonight.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's something to say about consistency as well.
There you go.
Yeah.
Making the same beer every.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I admire the hell out of these places that are managed to turn out. What's incredible is when you can make a beer 4.2% for like the better part of 5 decades or something.
Oh yeah, that's like I don't know. You have to have it down. I mean, you have to have scientists on board, and you have to have every step basically computer controlled, or even before, they had everything controlled by computers, like people that had that just wired in their brain, kind of like that. Or just, I don't know. I'm just making stuff up.
So this yeast strain, similar lineage to the, there it is. I can't say the name of the beer.
Weihenstephaner.
Weihenstephaner.
Yeah, so it's kind of, I wasn't able to find any information about if we're sure that it's from the Froberg strain, the one that the Weihenstephaner is made with.
Yeah.
But, it shares lineage from Germany,
from
Austria.
Vienna. It is a Vienna lager, technically, isn't it?
Yeah, as far as I understand, it's a Vienna-style lager and kind of an exile in Mexico.
Right.
And it shares
just
a story
like Dos Equis.
Right.
Yeah.
Or
Ambar Dos Equis is a Vienna lager.
Yep. And so it's pretty neat because this is, the malts started out pretty dark.
Mm-hmm.
And then as time went on, people figured out how to make lighter and lighter malt.
Right.
So what made a Pilsner was that it was made with Pilsner malt and a particular type of water.
Yeah. Exactly. Softer water.
Yeah. And whereas Munich malt, Vienna malt, all of those are relatively dark. I don't know what the originals look like, but now.
Right.
And so you get...
They had a lot of calcium in their water, though, so they couldn't really make a really light beer.
Yeah, light tasting beer for sure. Yeah. So you get
flavor.
Yeah. So you get these kind of heavy, darker malts that now have ended up across the world because people and yeast have evolved together.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like dogs and people. We
bring
people along with us. We bring yeast along with us, and animals, dogs, whatever.
Well, some say that the dogs domesticated us. Or is that cats? I don't know.
Who said that?
Look at Lila.
Dog person. I don't know. Somebody.
Idiots.
Yeah.
No.
It's your dog.
David Letterman
That's all I want to
said
say.
it.
What about her?
Huh? She's domesticated literally everybody that's walking.
She tries to.
Yeah.
I watched it happen.
She tries to train people. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, no, you're not getting this. I'll do it real slowly for you here. This is how it's going to go.
Yeah. So one of the things about this beer relative to, let's say, Live Oak's Big Bark, right? Another Vienna style.
Yeah.
That one has a stronger sweetness.
More fuller.
Yeah.
I'd say just more full in general. This is kind of just like Budweiser compared to some other craft
American
beer.
style lager.
I would say beer. It's got a bigger front. No, it's got a bigger front, but the finish isn't quite as sweet. It's still got that consistency all the way through. Whereas this one's got that kind of light front to a sweeter finish.
Whereas Oscar Blues, they make a Mexican style lager, the Burrito. It's like this, but just better.
And that's what we're gonna find is, when you have brewers that are focused on the craft, the quality, and the flavor, as opposed to consistency.
Oh yeah,
you have beers that are exceptional.
Consistency is really important.
I'm also sure that marketing probably comes in and says, you probably need a more mild flavor to appeal to the most variety of people, something like that,
Right.
I don't think that's what craft drinkers are looking for.
No, that's not what craft drinkers.
I understand,
but I'm saying for the mass market, what you want to do is you want to build a consistent product that's not overpowering in flavor.
And then you get Bud Light.
And then you get Bud Light.
And then you end up with that, yeah. But what these guys have done too is carried a legacy of yeast in a way.
Yeah.
And allowed that to continue beyond what it normally would. So that's that it's cool. We take a lot of these things from these big breweries that have created craft beer like it is in the U.S. now, which is just awesome. It's another evolution of just how things change over time and the influences. So yeah, it's really kind of cool how changes in the world have changed, and really like yeast are almost more successful than we are because they've managed to like hijack our world.
Yeah.
And
we're working for them. Well, I mean, I guess they do work for us.
We definitely work for them.
Well, I mean,
they scratch our backs.
We try to keep them alive as long as they're useful.
Yeah.
We scratch their backs, they get us drunk.
I mean, bread and beer,
Yeah.
You need them.
Pretty much the cornerstone of human civilization was built on Saccharomyces working in one way or another.
Yeah, and
Ross, would you say
bread or beer comes from bread too sometimes?
Yeah.
Ross, would you say they domesticated your beer?
Oh, they domesticated us. Yes. Well, I mean, there is the theory, the beer theory, that beer basically started civilization because they're okay. What they say is there was a bag of grains and it rained, it got wet, and then it got warm and it fermented, and somebody just said, "Oh, I'm gonna drink this bubbling brown stuff here," and then they liked it because it got them drunk, and then that got associated with a higher power or something religious. Because it gives you a euphoric experience. It's kind of like
they were like, "This is the blood of Christ."
Well, before Christ, yes.
When Christ is going to be somebody, it's going to be his blood.
Yeah.
Did it taste like cloven bananas?
Yeah.
No. I mean,
nature's
this is my blood.
That's the devil's fruit, not nature's fruit.
This is my body. This mayonnaise is my.
well, Christ banana.
But no, would they have had beer or wine first?
No, it was beer.
Beer was first?
Yeah, I mean, you have to have grapes to have wine. But it wasn't really beer as we know it, but, some ferment. There's dating back to, I think, Phoenicia or maybe it was Babylon. They had, I can't remember what it was called. There's a goddess of beer, and she was basically the main goddess. But what they had is they just threw bread in a jar with water, and then they let that ferment, and then they drink that without filtering or anything, and that was how they communed with the goddess.
I see.
I can't remember her name, but
the story should really be something like some hippie equivalent person, back in ancient times.
He was a hippie.
Yeah, they were like, I don't want to actually eat this bread.
He wasn't wearing shoes.
I want to turn it into a smoothie and then drink it. Then you got beer.
Yeah, and I've read that it's kind of nasty because you got chunks floating in there and everything.
Sure. Yeah.
No, it's natural. It's how the people in Portland
But then kvass came from that basically because they just throw rye bread into water and then they ferment and it's like that.
Wealth of knowledge.
This is awesome. This is great.
I don't know. I just like reading about beer.
I was thinking about it today. I was like, I could talk about the genetics of yeast all day, but
and
history. Yeah.
Oh, we've got that covered. Don't you worry.
Yeah, that's great. We're talking about Russian Courvoisier beer, I guess.
Yeah.
This is good stuff.
And apparently Cutter loves history too, but he never talks about it. But
I know history.
Okay.
What history?
I don't regurgitate it.
Not Texas history.
I don't know Texas history.
We've covered this.
Yeah.
He's from Kansas.
I'm from Kansas.
Oh, okay.
Apparently, they don't teach Texas history where I'm from.
That's okay. We'll just embarrass you guys anyway.
Are you guys from here? Or?
I grew up. I was born in El Paso,
Right,
and then I grew up in Amarillo.
Oh, okay.
So-
Amarillo. That's up. Somewhere sort of my.
It's mostly Texas.
Your hometown is listed as Amarillo on the website, right?
Yeah. So me and George are both from El Paso. So we had to decide.
Yeah.
We flipped a coin. So
we had a discussion about what hometown means.
Yeah. I mean, it's. I don't know if I say I mean, I grew up in Houston, but we moved around a lot until I was in high school. And so that was like 4 years we stayed in the same place. So I kind of consider that sort of my hometown. Yeah.
Yeah, I was born in San Marcos, lived in Lockhart.
Nope.
It's all like, and then my family's from back home, so I moved home when I was 4.
Nope.
Yeah.
It's all like, and then I discovered
Even before you could talk.
Southwest Texas State Teachers College?
Yeah, no. It was just Southwest Texas State. I went to Southwest Texas for 4 days before they changed the name to Texas State.
Alma mater of LBJ.
Yes, and don't you forget it.
Yeah, exactly.
And don't you forget it.
It's like, and I was like, all right, well, I'm going to go back there. So I moved back.
And George
15
Strait.
years ago. And George Strait, yeah.
Where were you conceived?
Well, talking about
Old
Amarillo.
George's.
Yeah.
That's
Did you ever have a beer at George's?
No.
I did.
No.
I'm sorry.
We did. Yeah, we did.
would. Because we were like, we
the
can't.
Smokehouse?
No, it's an on-campus bar.
Yeah.
No,
Oh, yeah, down in the basement of the student center.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yes, I
That's
did
George's.
actually. Yeah, okay. I had no idea what it was called. I ended up down there one day, and I was like, "Wait, you guys have beer?"
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We didn't believe that they had beer, and we were told one time.
ended up down there. That doesn't sound like
Yeah,
a
there's
good
like
story.
a Blimpies down there too.
Yeah.
Like you gotta go
What?
down past into the depths.
Oh man,
Yeah.
It's like you go through Blimpies almost to get
always
Yes.
looking for a Blimpies.
Yes,
I always thought that
absolutely.
was just a place to take naps. They had like pillows down
Oh no!
there.
Yeah.
You took the wrong left.
Maybe I did.
Yeah, you
took a wrong left.
You took the first left.
Cutter knows.
There is a nap room.
There is
Okay.
a nap room down there.
So,
In college, I could smell beer from about a mile away. Just
Still,
somebody's drinking.
yeah,
I went to join them.
still does. That.
Someone say you'd still smell beer.
Yeah, any beer, Cutter's deathbed beer,
Smells delicious.
any beer. We'll get into that later.
Yeah.
But Gabby, you say your hometown is listed as Houston.
Dayton, Texas.
Oh God,
Dayton, Texas. It's
goddamn Liberty.
very close to Liberty.
Yeah, I know.
actually, very small town. Probably.
I'd say my hometown is Crosby.
Right
Yeah.
next to Dayton.
Yes.
We're actually like football rivals.
Yeah, we were 3A at that.
3A, yeah.
Yeah.
Different
And
A's.
Dayton, I think at that point might have been a 4A school, but so yeah.
How many A's is good?
Well,
5 is
5A
the top.
big.
Okay.
Yeah.
They have
Gotcha.
6A now.
They do
Oh,
have 6A.
do they? Okay.
Yeah, they do.
Kansas has always had 6A.
Fuck.
I mean, there's only like 4
always,
schools.
you
but
always have to do this.
Don't talk about
90%
Kansas on the podcast.
90%
People are logging off if you have to log on.
No, they've
to
already
a podcast.
downloaded. It already goes through the numbers.
Yeah, but they're shutting it off and
Okay.
never going to listen to
Yeah,
again.
they actually uninstalled their operating system right
Exactly.
now.
They're just like, I'm done with computers.
Yeah.
Computers are dead to me now.
Thanks, Kansas.
Release some nanobots to get rid of the cancer that is Kansas. I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah, it's so I was thinking about this beer too. Like one of the things that's different about this than like what the guys at you were talking about Big Bark, right?
Yeah,
Sure,
Live Oak, yeah.
I don't know that beer's mash bill or grain bill, but I
Right.
do know that this beer is actually made with corn.
Okay.
Well, of
adjunct
course, yeah,
and
it's
rice.
cheaper.
Most
I think they
likely
call
I
it
assume
maize.
rice or maize. Yeah. So
Technically.
and that's kind of a cool thing that came out of Mexico because there was a beverage that was made by actually like chewing.
Yeah, chewing it and
Corn.
spitting it
Yeah.
into a gourd.
I want to say it was like pulque. No, I can't remember. off
Is
the
it
top of my head.
mate? Or is that
Mate
no?
is
That's
like a
Argentinian.
leaf.
That's South American.
That's a tea.
Chiche. I think it was chiche. Yeah.
That sounds right. Well, I don't know.
How important is it to the yeast?
To chew it.
Like no.
Yeah, they love that.
Hey, the
My
next
jaw
beer.
is sore right now.
The next beer we're brewing.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
We're gonna
We don't need to know what you do in your personal life.
Yeah, it's between me and the yeast.
You guys can-
No, it's like do
Protein.
certain
Yeah.
yeasts like certain grains better, or
Yeah,
how much
so-
how much does that play into a factor?
Yeah, that's a big thing. Is and there's, it's actually a big thing in the industry right now. Is that there are certain yeasts that like to chew through like big, complex, heavy sugars
Really?
way after the fact. So they
Because
call
I've
them,
always heard that you want to mash to get, those simple sugars. Because, because if you put lactose in there, that's a complex sugar. It's not going to eat through that.
Yeah. So what we have expected over the last, couple, I don't know how long we've been making American style beer, but at least the last century, is that
you've been doing it a long time.
Oh yeah. The royal we have done this for the last century.
Tony isn't that here.
Portland did it the first.
Why you gotta ruin everything, Cutter?
God, that's what Kansas. Yeah.
Portland,
anyway,
Kansas.
I haven't gotten it yet.
Let's get back on track.
Oh, did they teach that in Kansas history?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Why is there?
Trust me, it's all like
First day of
Portland did it first, Kansas did it last.
First day of Kansas history. It's a square.
With a bite taken out of it.
Yeah. Last day of Kansas history.
It's still a square.
With a bite taken out of it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
This happened.
We were talking. Okay, yeah. So we assume that the yeast will eat the glucose, fructose, sucrose, and maltose. Those are the things they normally like to eat. Mm-hmm. Some of them like to eat slightly bigger sugars. They like trisaccharides, 3 sugars attached together.
Right.
But there's a big thing going on right now where a lot of the yeast that people are using to produce commercial beer will go dormant, and then they will start producing a gene down the road as they get more stressed out. They start to realize they're out of sugar. They start to get kind of desperate. I mean,
evolving to
they don't think, but they
react. They just
they react to their environment.
Basically,
So there's a lot of alcohol. There's no air, and there's no sugar to eat unless you can break down
that complex
the bigger stuff in the bottle.
Yeah, okay.
So it's considered like a wild type. So like that's kind of the OG yeast thing is to break down molds. You can just throw them on grain and they'll just eat whatever's there.
Yeah.
A wild yeast has appeared.
I was going to say, is that a Pokemon type?
Exactly. So you have to, so the issue is that, people will assume that when you put a beer in a bottle, it'll stop eating and it won't, it'll just sit there dormant. What's happening is there is this gene, and it's a really hard to track down gene. The gene is actually there in a lot of yeasts, but some won't express it.
Right.
So it just sits there in some, and then in others it'll wake up and it'll start fermenting again.
How do you know which? I mean, I guess are you trying to
like recessive or
in a way? So like when we think of traits as like dormant or recessive and dominant, So thanks. We think of that
I went way back
in terms of humans, but in yeast, it's like it's really can you turn it on or off?
Yeah.
And so that's
I can see where it would be really helpful, but also
really bad.
Really bad.
Because you think about beer sitting on a shelf.
Yeah, you want
right. And if
you don't want it to change
and if it eats all the complex sugars, you may lose the sweetness that you want.
All you have is like
whatever notes you have in there.
Spirit,
that are, really. Yeah.
And then the other part of it is that's actually really bad too. Is that when you are watching yeast ferment, it's producing CO2.
Right.
So your airlock is going. So inside of that bottle, there's nowhere for that CO2 to go.
Right.
So as it sits on the shelf,
a bottle bomb. Yeah.
Exactly. So
they had problems with that at Blue Owl because they made the Professor black and they had to reformulate it because their cans were exploding on shelves.
I don't know about that.
Because
but I do know
they put cherries in when they were canning, I guess. And so, that produced
simple
more sugar
stayed in. And, so there's companies that lost a very large amount of beer
using the yeast that are waking up. Yeah. Okay.
So the trick is that it's really a tricky gene to try to track down if it's going to work or not.
Yeah.
And so you have, big production companies and what we've done is try to just, we will analyze the gene. So we have, the way to check if the gene is even there.
Yeah.
And then watch its behavior, work with it, and then see if it actually can turn on or off. And there's a huge amount of research going on right now with like a lot of like really funded brewing institutes.
I can understand if like
where's the funding?
Huge, like if this happens like Anheuser-Busch, I'm sure they're gonna want to.
Oh yeah.
They're gonna find out try to find out overnight. Let's not have this happen ever again.
Oh, absolutely.
Because we had 500,000 barrels just turn into straight alcohol.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's really kind of a big deal. And that's where these yeast are always in flux. Their genomes are always interacting. They're always changing.
We're evolving, and so are they. So, yeah. Although they're smaller, so they're probably evolving faster.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So you're talking about it's always evolving. So I'm trying to think of this in historic. Since the first one we had is almost 1,000 years old. Does that mean that even though they're trying to make a beer traditionally how it might have tasted back then, even though the yeast is evolving, that it might still taste a lot different than what it did 1,000 years ago?
Yeah. So with lagers generally, with hybrids, so lagers are not true Saccharomyces like beer yeast like we know. They're a hybrid between an old school that actually went almost extinct. Mm-hmm. They tracked it down in Patagonia and Tibet.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And so when I guess the running theory is, and I guess I'll just go with this here for a second.
Yeah. Why not?
The running theory is that
you say it enough times and it becomes true.
Yeah. So. That they took German brewers were using Saccharomyces cerevisiae, so we make ales with that, and that's a particular species, and then it interacted with this yeast called Saccharomyces eubionis they found it in Patagonia and Tibet.
Right.
And the Tibetan one seems to be the most likely candidate because the Silk Road was moving back and forth.
Right, yeah. Okay.
So these barrels of beer maybe went down there, got, infected, I guess, in a way with this eubionis strain.
Mm-hmm. Somebody left a spoon.
Yeah, somebody left a spoon in there. And then it went back up to
why they only
Germany.
Have one spoon.
And then somebody put it in a cave. And then it hybridized
into a lager,
and then became a lager.
Yeah,
yeah. So these strains, all of these lagers that we're having are not Saccharomyces cerevisiae. They're their own species. They're genetically distinct, and in fact, this one, the Weihenstephaner that we're having, is very, very different from the Pilsner Urquell genetically that we're going to have, and that happened twice. As far as we know right now, is that it happened twice. Once it happened with the Froberg strain. Yeah. And then the other time it happened with the Sauce strain, which is like the Bohemian strain.
Oh, that's interesting because when I hear Sauce, I think Sauce hops.
Yeah, and
which
that's
is
the
used
region.
to make, Pilsner.
So is it possible that this is generational? Like our grandkids could have this beer in 40 years and it'll taste different than what it tastes right now?
With lagers, I'd say it's probably less. It's much slower. Okay. So it's possible. Of course, anything can happen.
I guess lagers do everything slow. They ferment slow.
And it's more complicated how they interact with each other. So, usually when you talk about how things interact genetically, it's like if you have a species, it can't mate with another species. That's the general idea of it. But we're talking about a hybrid.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah, right.
You can definitely mate.
Just wait. We're just waiting for Clint to get a cat.
Oh,
sure.
Wow.
Oh, no.
With his dog.
You can mate all day long.
Right.
If your offspring's viable, then call somebody up and make that. We need to publish that. So
just happens once.
Cat
That's all
dog.
it takes.
yeah, exactly.
Ask the horse and the donkey how that works.
Right.
Thanks.
So we don't really know, and it could happen. Yeah. And what's happening now is there's a really cool thing now that we've discovered this eubionis out of the depths of Tibet and Patagonia. There are actually people breeding ale yeast and this eubionis together to create like new lager strains, which haven't been done in a long time.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome!
So it makes it really rare then, because there's probably not enough to like spread around to everybody, or does it grow in population and we can start
using it
eventually? Yeah, eventually I think that's the idea. That'd be something that we're really interested in, and down the road when we get the actual ability to step back and be like, okay, let's experiment with something new. Like that's totally on our radar right now. It's like, let's create a Texas-based lager yeast that's unique in its own way that you can do all sorts of cool stuff with.
Nice.
But just in Texas.
So we can take Texas.
Just in Texas.
We can take Texas and Kansas and mix.
Yes.
No mixing of Kansas.
No. We don't mix
ever.
No. We will keep the Texas yeast pure, and it will be superior to all other yeasts.
Yes. Come and take our yeast.
Come and take our yeast. I like it.
Cutter probably doesn't get that.
Trademark. Texas Yeast Lab 2018.
Get it in there.
Gotta get it in there. I'm calling my lawyer.
Patent pending.
There was a brewery and lab years ago, and it was years ago that I read this, but they were trying, or they did bring back a like fossilized yeast or something like that from like prehistoric times.
Well, I mean,
and they made a beer out of it, but I didn't keep up with the story.
I mean, Dogfish Head has their specific line that they do, like they did like Solomon's beer. I think, or I can't remember what it was called, but it was basically the beer that they brewed during King Solomon's reign. It's mostly honey. It's like more of like a mead, but yeah. But yeah, they have their.
They've got one right. They've got one that I almost brought tonight. It's the grain bill is 51% of the bill.
Yeah.
Of the mash bill.
Yeah.
The other 49% is grape. It's as close to a wine as you can
like
get.
like a braggot or
yeah.
That's getting
like
pretty
Welsh,
popular. Yeah, people are liking to make a lot of those these days.
There's a Strangeland makes a braggot. So
yeah,
I actually wanted to try that, but they don't have it at the local store that I go to. So
yeah, it's pretty stout. It's definitely a serious beer braggot, I guess.
Yeah.
It's really.
I mean, they when I see things in a bomber, then I know it's serious. But yeah, which is that's only sold in the liter or the bomber, whatever. Is it a liter or?
It's close. I think. Yeah,
750. Sorry,
most of your bombers are 750s.
Yeah. So I guess what does everybody think of the Negra? I mean, I know I've had it before. We had it at Chance's Bachelor Week, and we had a pony keg of it, which we didn't. I don't even think we got halfway through.
Did we?
Yeah,
pony keg.
I bought it. Yeah.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years. Not last year, but at Chance's.
I don't even remember that being there.
Yeah, I don't think you remember a lot of that.
We drank most
weekend.
of it the first night and then kind of gave up next day.
Yeah.
I just remember vodka pickles. That's all I remember.
Oh, that was good. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, drinking this again for first time in a while.
Yeah, I haven't probably haven't had it in 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can definitely get the whole influence of the heavy grains.
Yes.
And that it's got a similar, like, what's going on here in this vine. Oh my God. Yes. This beer, number one. And but it's really it's got its own personality going. I think the corn and the whole evolution of it outside of Germany probably changed a lot of how this beer ended up.
Yeah.
Found a California Polytechnic State University professor, Raul Cano, resurrected a 45 million year old yeast and
he made an amber ale out of it
and decided to make amber ale out of it.
Middle of the road.
Very cool.
Wow.
I mean, that's what that's what Clint's making right now. I mean,
it came out of amber, like out of a mosquito and amber, like Jurassic Park.
I think that's just a photo that they're using
okay.
to make you think of that.
Yeah.
It's 45 million years old.
Thanks, fake news.
Yeah, fake news.
Though, if it were something else and it came out of amber, I'd probably call it an amber ale.
Yeah,
right.
That makes sense.
But yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
It is the color of your energy.
Yeah, always.
Yeah, that's really cool. That'd definitely be something because, I mean, who knows what changes have gone on in yeast. They're always changing right now, and we're talking a tiny amount of time. In 1,000 years, that's nothing.
Or even 100 years.
Even 100 years. Yeah, 45 million years of them just hanging out.
Yeah.
Interacting with the environment, getting changed, mutated. It's cool.
So you talked about earlier mixing, that some people are mixing them. So are there a lot more hybrids now?
Well, so not commercially available yet, but there are a lot of labs making these hybrids between the Eubionis and the Cerevisia, the ale yeast, and eventually, I'm sure they're going to become more commercially available. So we'll start to see. Hopefully,
what kind of beers do you think they'll make?
Cervasian, Cervasis.
Yeah, it's Latin.
Wow.
I get it. Yeah.
Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, I'm here, guys. I made it.
Yeah.
You said most likely it came from an ale yeast to a lager yeast. So with those blends going on, would you expect to see more lagers in the future, or do you think that's more of a business thing that needs to happen?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a combination of both. I mean, I'm sure that with new strains coming out, there's excitement that come with them. Like, I mean, we're seeing an explosion in New England IPAs.
Sure.
All over the place.
Course,
and those are super yeast dependent. You can't just make a New England IPA with like a lager yeast or anything, or most of the available strains that you can get. But if you get the right strain that kicks ass.
Yeah, I think Omega might make Hetty Topper uses a certain yeast, and they were pretty much the ones that's Hetty Topper.
Yeah, the
was,
Alchemist was like the original.
The Alchemist. Yeah, and they
Full Metal.
Full Metal Alchemist.
Yeah,
equivalent trade, but
equivalent exchange.
There you go.
Nerds.
Well, I mean, it depends on the dubbed or so. I don't know.
No. Yeah. Keep going. What were you talking about?
The guy with a Batman T-shirt says "nerds."
Yeah,
but yeah, I think with a new yeast, there's excitement that comes with it. The New England IPAs use a lot of hops. They use a lot of, they're very, very aggressively hopped on the Chryson.
Awful.
Very,
stop it.
Yeah. Oh no.
Beer industry, stop it.
I think the Oasis has in New England.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
They have a lot of IPAs.
North by Northwest has it. Well, they call it an East Coast IPA
North by Northwest
their yeast flocculated out, so it's not hazy.
Oh, okay.
Although it's still kind of, it's delicious. Got that flavor. I think it's even more delicious with mango. That is not canned.
Oh yeah, the mango one wasn't bad.
They should call it Austin, Massachusetts for road trip because they don't want to call it Boston or New England. They want to call it Austin.
I got you.
Anyway,
I was waiting for approval from
Ross. We get to copyright that name for the beer.
Austin, Massachusetts. Yeah. So, but speaking of new strains for our homebrew, I just got a new strain. It's a Kveik. Norwegian.
Yeah.
So, and I've been reading all about it, and it's pretty interesting. And it ferments at like 90 degrees without putting off any off flavors.
Yeah, or unwanted off flavors.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's still got a lot of esters and fruity taste.
Yeah. That doesn't even make sense. It's from Norway.
Right.
I know. How do you ferment at 90 degrees in Norway? Which is something that somebody brought up
carefully.
But I was looking at Yeah, there are more saunas than people in Norway. No, I don't know if that's true, but
it's like a sauna in here.
Anyway, because there was this one guy that pretty much practically saved all of Norwegian yeast from going extinct, and how people stored it. There's these little square pieces of wood, and they're wrapped around this circle, and that's how they kept their yeast. That's how they stored their yeast. I guess they just threw some pieces of wood that had the yeast buried inside, living in there, and that's how they brewed with those, and that's how they stored it. So
that just put that piece of wood into the beer.
That's kind of like
what
was it? Was it a square piece of wood that had a bite taken out of it?
No, it's just porous. So the yeast goes in there, and they.
Sure. I mean, that's how we deliver all our yeast. It's in 2x4s. Home Depot truck shows up.
Cut it up.
Just get a little miter saw and just chop off however much yeast you want, and you're good to go.
That's why Home Depot is so popular on Saturdays. They're not really working on their bathroom. They're working on getting some beer.
It's all those home brewers.
Everything revolves around beer.
Yeah. No, that's actually something we're playing with right now. So we're going to be hopefully getting that out there. Well, hopefully we've been trying to.
There's so many strains in Norway because there's.
You are talking about Norwegian yeast. You're not talking about the wood.
Not the
I mean, if we could make it work, that I would not be opposed.
It'd be stable. You definitely have to do a starter.
Maybe it's taxed differently. You can just put it in wood. That's how you transport it.
Yeah. You could just build a fermenter out of that wood, and you're good to go.
Wouldn't really have to keep it cold.
Just gotta inject it into the grain, right?
Yeah.
And then
perfect.
There.
Yeah.
It's cheaper, I'm sure.
There's
a slab of wood.
It might be.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's one of the things that's cool about this Norwegian yeast. There's so many different strains. Right now, there's really only 3 that are commercially available.
Yeah.
But there are just a plethora. Each farm had their different strain that they used, which, I mean, some, there's a lot of crossover probably being close together in wild yeast, and it's the same kind of, environment. But then you get these completely different yeasts making completely different beers.
That can apparently ferment at 90 degrees in Norway.
Yeah. It's sort of like saisons, where every farmer had his different beer, and
right.
And
which
you
is
get that bucolic,
all in. Yeah, which you can't really classify a saison by taste or certain traits because they're so varied.
Yeah, that's a lot of times when you run into, somebody's like, okay, well, what saison yeast do you have available?
Yeah.
Or what farmhouse yeast do you have available?
Right,
and that's
right.
always kind of a loaded question. It's like, well, what are you looking for is the next question. Yeah, because there's so much variety of, does it produce like horse flavors?
Yeah.
Does it produce
horse
phenols and esters?
We do need that. We do need beat a dead horse flavor.
Sure.
Yeah.
For our IPA.
Yes.
Our dead horse IPA. We need to get some of those horse flavors.
A truck stop sort of.
Sure.
I think we just call it
Je ne sais quoi.
But can we get a yeast for that?
We'll figure something out.
There you go.
Yeah, we'll find a dead horse somewhere.
And extract yeast from a dead horse.
No way, Jose.
Sure.
That's what we're going to use.
They're going to store in the...
Has science gone too far?
They're stored in the hooves of a horse.
You never asked if you should.
Yeah, exactly.
Only if we could.
If we've learned anything, it's life finds a way.
Jurassic Park again.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So,
I thought it was
I hope you don't get tired of Jurassic Park quotes.
No,
I'm pretty sure nobody should get
It's
tired
never
of
a
Jurassic
bad
Park
idea until it is.
Yeah. I should put that on a beer.
It's never, our dead horse.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
It's never a bad idea until it is.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to get into this Pilsner Urquell?
Yes.
Sure, let's do it.
I'd like
Wait,
that.
hold on, just real quick.
No.
We asked the question earlier. We started it. Where are we at on this beer?
Yeah, I know, but Clint interrupted us.
Sorry.
I like it. It tastes like something that could be great.
Mhm.
I mean, it's still good, but I just want a little bit more out of it. Like I was talking about the Oscar Blues Burrito or the Big Bark being a lager. The burrito itself, it's a lot like this, but it's got more biscuit flavor.
Mm.
And then
From those biscuit hops.
Yeah,
He's
personally,
a fan of the biscuit hops.
Biscuit malts.
Or biscuit malt. Sorry.
But yeah, I'm a fan of that.
They should make biscuit hops.
I like my gravy hops better. But.
Yeah, gravy hops.
I mean, I like it, but I'd rather drink the burrito.
Choose a fine Texas craft beer over the Negra Modelo.
Well, they brew here.
Absolutely.
All right, so then the Big Bark.
The Negra Modelo was better.
Between the two, the German and the
No.
Mexican.
Never mind. You didn't get it.
I didn't.
You missed it. It's all right.
You
don't get references.
Anyway, so
I don't get references.
No, that's all I gotta say.
Would you guys be mad at me if I told you this might be one of my favorite beers?
Oh my god,
Joel!
Is this when you think of beer?
This
is
man
this
appreciates
what you?
legacy.
I smell. This is a beer that I think of.
See, I think I see where Ross is going with it. Like, it could be like thicker, creamier.
Yeah.
Because it has
just
those
a little bit
caramel notes.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what I like.
Just a little bit more robust.
And I'm the opposite. So usually when like Tony likes, he's not here,
Rosé all day.
but he usually likes thicker beers
I don't clap.
that
dead
have
to us.
caramel or chocolate. He is dead to us. Or over the Pacific. And
Atlantic.
Iceland is in the
Iceland
Atlantic.
is over there. Not...
Oh yeah.
You could get there over the Pacific, but I wouldn't recommend it.
That's a long way.
That's a long way. And
Greenland is covered in ice. Iceland is very nice. Mighty Ducks too.
Wow.
I'll get to quote where you got it from.
Yeah.
So I think I see where Ross is going because he would want something that's a little bit heavier. That's usually where Tony
I think
goes.
he's talking more flavor profile. He wants more flavor out of it. He wants the sweeter notes or the front end sweeter notes.
But would you argue because it's a little bit watery that tones down those notes?
That's what I
would.
said. Yeah.
I like it. I would just like it to be a little more complex.
Yeah.
That's all I go.
And I think that's the adjunct talking right there. You know, when you put rice and corn into a beer, love it or hate it, it makes it really light.
Yeah,
sure.
Because, you know, barley has protein, barley has sugars that yeast can't eat, normal yeast can't eat. So, but not the rice and the corn don't really have that. They just have a lot of sugar, and so you end up with a very light-bodied beer with the same amount of alcohol. So, like, you know, the beers like Michelob Ultra or all those like beers you see the billboards for, they're like 1 carb. You know, that's generally because they're just throwing so much sugar at the wall that there's nothing left outside of just the sugar.
I can see that. Yeah, because that's what I liked. I liked it. It was very
hydrating.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good word, actually. It's a really good word.
So it has enough of that caramel flavor that it makes it unique, and I really liked it. So yeah, I thought it was really good.
Is this your favorite beer you've ever had Seriously.
If there was a beer that tasted like beer, it would be this one.
Yeah. Better than the Kolsch?
Well, the Circle Kolsch is pretty good. That's getting up there. Pack.
Yeah.
So
we just need to get some corn in that Kolsch, and it'll get
really
it right.
get it.
Yeah, get it right.
What about you, Gabby?
I actually really enjoy this beer.
Yeah, you're entitled to your opinion.
However wrong it may be.
Yeah.
But between both the beers that we've had, the Weihenstephaner and this one, the Weihenstephaner definitely is my favorite because I agree with Ross. This is lacking something, a little bit more bite.
Yeah.
But it is enjoyable. I could drink a few of them.
I think that's their intent. That's exactly where they want you to be. You're like, oh yeah, I could sit back and like drink 3 or 4 of these easy.
It's pleasing. It's heavier than their regular especial. It's like it's still refreshing. It's just not complex enough for me. So I like it. Definitely drink 3. Well, no problem.
We do bill ourselves
still a 1
as a craft beer podcast, so I would hope this isn't complex. It's like enough complexity for you.
The Weihenstephaner is that's still a really good beer. I like my German beers though too.
Yeah,
I felt the same way about that. I feel like I want a little bit more flavor out of it.
I definitely would
more than what it has. Maybe a different malt note or something like that, just to bring something to the forefront of the beer.
Once again, it's not complex, but I definitely prefer the Weihenstephaner over the
Weihenstephaner. I would have liked to put it in a glass. I would have think that would have refined it a little bit more. Because usually, I've had those type of beers before, and they usually are really watery. That wasn't too watery, but I can see what you're saying. Like, it almost needs a little bit more kick.
Right. And you guys measured in chemistry, so I went on further. I majored in German from Texas State.
Oh, okay. So you're able to actually pronounce this correctly, as opposed to...
I'm able to look at it and decipher.
Pretty useless.
Weihenstephaner.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody for listening. We had a whole lot of fun drinking some lagers with the Texas Yeast Lab. We had Weihenstephaner.
All right, he's got this.
It's
Weihenstephaner.
Wheezy Steven.
Wheezy.
Weihenstephaner.
That is what I said. And
Negra Modelo.
Or is it Modelo Negra now? Yeah, and so thanks to Dan and Gaby from the Texas Yeast Lab.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it was really fun. Got to learn a lot about yeast. So, thanks for listening to part 1. Be sure to listen to part 2, where we make more obscure references and drink a little bit more. This has been Ross,
Clint,
Cutter.
I'm still Joel,
Daniel,
and Gabby.
And this is the podcast.
This is the podcast.
He likes Danny.
Thanks for sticking around. You can subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean, Google Play, and TuneIn. If you like what you heard, rate and review us on iTunes. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at 3 Beers In Podcast, and check out our website, 3beersinpodcast.com. 3 beersinpodcast.com. You can find information about us and the show along with the links to all of our episodes and our really cool merchandise. While you're on our site, you can tell us what you like, what you don't like. And if you don't like us, then why the hell are you still here? You should have turned us off long ago. But if you're just going to listen to us anyway, then you should probably subscribe too. And if you would like a transcript of our podcast, write down everything that we just said.
Is this a family-friendly podcast?
No.
Bottle
Pacific Beer Chat brings together a collective of West Coast beer bloggers sharing our opinions on events, issues, and well-crafted brews. We hope you will check out the podcast at pacificbeerchat.com and at Pacific Beer Chat on social media and podcast apps, including Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, and Stitcher. The music is by Conundrum. Welcome to Pacific Beer Chat.